Christianity and evolution. They're being told, well, it's only fair to give both points of view. It's only fair to teach evolution and balance it with creation science or intelligent design theory or something like that.
From their tiny offices in a small northern California town, Eugenie Scott and the staff of the National Center for Science Education deploy an arsenal of weapons to defend the teaching of evolution.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Jeannie.
Often, the hardest part is just getting people to understand what is and what isn't science.
Evolution or science in general can't say anything about whether God did or did not have anything to do with it. All evolution as a science can tell us is what happened. Can't tell us who done it. And as what happened, the evidence is extremely strong that the galaxies evolved, the planets evolved, the sun evolved, and living things on Earth shared common ancestors.
You're probably right.
At the National Center for Science Education, calls come in from across America from teachers who continue to be accused of locking God out of their classrooms. When Steve Randack called from Lafayette, Indiana, he got the help he wanted. But he was troubled by what he heard.
This is Eugenie Scott.
Eugenie Scott told me that this is the first time, to her knowledge, that students have taken the initiative. And I am very much concerned that there will be other places where children will step forward, protest, ask school boards to be listened to, and the school boards won't do the right thing.
I think they think someone will come out a victor, and I don't believe that that's going to be the case.
But win or lose, for McKinney students, this is a battle worth fighting. Tonight, they are taking their petitions to the Lafayette School Board to demand that the members take a public stand for or against special creation. They claim that complex biological structures could not have arisen through natural selection at all, but had to have been created by some higher intelligence. According to their teachers, the future of science education at Jefferson High may be riding on the board's response.
As a teacher, you feel compelled to soothe the distress these kids are having. And so school boards are going to feel the same thing.
Joyce, we can have roll call, please.
And that sense of fairness is something that school board members have and I think would respond to. And I think it's going to be dangerous.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Lafayette School Board of Trustees. First of all, welcome. I understand some of you are here tonight to discuss the science curriculum at Jefferson High School, so let me see the show of hands of people that are there for that. Okay, thank you. Let's just move in. Are there any comments from the public? It's now open.
All right. One issue that continues to confront American society is that of the teaching of the theories of evolution and special creation in our schools. The assumption of the theory of evolution is that all living things have resulted from chance interactions. The assumption of special creation is that the physical universe and living creatures in it have been fashioned by a supreme being. Please understand that those of us supporting this petition do not advocate the banning of teaching of the theory of evolution. However, we believe that the theory of evolution should be taught alongside the alternative theory of special creation. Let us be taught the facts so that we can decide on our own. Thank you.
For these students, the argument isn't about science versus the Bible. It's about which views of science will be taught. It is a tactic pioneered in 1961 when a revolutionary book by Henry Morris and John Whitcomb used carefully selected scientific evidence to support the creationist cause.
The Genesis flood is the foundational document for creation science. Everything else has been built upon this book. He makes a number of claims in here that you can somehow find scientific evidence to demonstrate that the earth was created like a literal reading of Genesis says.
The Genesis flood was an inspiration to creationists. In 1981, Louisiana Senator Bill Keith proposed a law requiring the teaching of creation science wherever evolution was taught.
Scientific creationism is pure science and is just as unreligious as the teaching of evolution science. And also that that it's an abridgment of academic freedom for our school children not to be given all the scientific evidences regarding origins.
Over opposition from educators, the Louisiana legislature passed the law. Creation science and evolution became classmates. But in 1987, the Supreme Court ruled that teaching creationism alongside evolution violated the First Amendment's separation of church and state. In his opinion for the majority, however, Justice William Brennan wrote that alternatives to evolutionary theory can be taught if they have a scientific basis.
What Justice Brennan wrote in the 1987 decision was that, of course, teachers have a right to teach any and all scientific views about the origin of humans or any other scientific theory, and that's absolutely true. And what he said was any and all scientific views. Now, of course, one reason why the creationists have worked so hard to try to present their ideas as being scientific is so they can duck under the First Amendment.
And I would just like to tell all of you how we want special creation to be taught. And like it's already been stated, we want it taught alongside evolution. I would just like to say that we do not want a religion class or any separate class because it is not religion. So we're just begging of you to teach us the facts and let us decide. And that is with evolution and special creation.
There's a large part of me that felt, my gosh, we haven't done a very good job with the nature of science if we have this many students who don't understand the difference and why creation and, any supreme being can't be addressed in a science classroom. And I kept thinking, gee, it seems like we try so hard to really hit home with what makes a particular event science. And the fact that there seems to be a lack of understanding about that was disturbing to me.
What they don't understand is that science is a rather brutal competition of ideas. It is not particularly a situation where you get to express your idea just because you want to. That sense of fairness doesn't exist in science. In science, ideas are supported by evidence, and that evidence has to be peer-reviewed, and it has to be repeatable, and it has to be testable, and creationism is not that.
And we know that it's our freedom to decide on the information. And we think that it's been neglected by the school system in the state and maybe even in the nation, that there are facts we don't have. Thank you.
It's real hard for me as a parent and as a teacher to know that not only are they dealing with their own faith issues at a very young age, 14, 15 years old, but they're also dealing with the issues of being disobedient to their parents. And I know that for many of them, it's not only, the evils of evolution, it's that my parents don't even want me to hear about this or listen to it, much less participate in the conversation.
I grew up in the church. God created all things. That's the way it was. That's how it ever will be. And I didn't get my first even notion of evolution until like 3rd grade when we were learning about insects. And they're like, well, one day you'll learn that the building blocks of life actually evolved from water. And so I went home to my mom and dad, and I was like, we came from water? And they're like, yeah, it's called evolution, and I still didn't understand it. And
I guess I had read about it or something, but I just knew that God created us in 6 days, and I knew he was the creator. And my mom agreed with me on that. My stepdad doesn't, but I don't really know how I learned that. It's just, I probably read it in the Bible.
Don't move this. Okay, come on over here and look. And I had the same conflicts these kids are having. I mean, I went through that whole growing process myself. And so I can really sympathize. And fortunately, I had a lot of significant people in my life that were willing to sit down and listen to me. I had a very, very intelligent pastor tell me once that I asked him what he thought, and he said, what I think doesn't matter. It's what you think. And he said, here's what I recommend. You learn a lot about both, and then you make your own decision. And that's what I did. I went to Bible studies, and I pursued careers in science and just fell in love with them. And I would say that probably by the end of my senior, or maybe I was even in college before I really came to terms with the fact that in my mind, And in my heart, there was no conflict. They answer very different questions. They address very different things in our lives. And I think they're